Hi, it's Fred Firestone with the Punderdome champs up close and personal. And today is an exciting day for me because I get to talk to the pun-loving criminal, AKA,
Hey!
that's you, buddy. All right, let's do it again. The pun-loving criminal,
Hey!
AKA Andrew Tymms. Just by way of background, Andrew was the runner-up for the February 4th Punderdome, and an amazing, exciting job. So anyway, congratulations. Great
Thank
to
you
have
very
you.
much. Punner up.
Yeah, we consider the punter up and the individual that won equal pun champions. Fine line of difference. So you have equal status in the mind of the Punderdome. Okay, so
That's great to hear.
All right, let's before we get into what makes you pun tick, a little background on your Punderdome involvement. How were we lucky enough to find you, and what has been your path toward the ultimately the championship?
Well, I found you. I'm always looking for entertainment events during these dark times. And on Eventbrite, it came up, Punderdome. I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And then I joined in. I think I just happened to discover it on the night that it was happening. And I watched in amazement as these people just seemed to weave comedy gold from thin air. And I thought, I could never do that. And then I kind of I'm a bit masochistic. So I played along at home against the clock, see what I could come up with. And it wasn't a patch on theirs.
And when was this? Put time perspective. What month?
This was to be in the end of last year.
Okay, last
and
year,
then
right?
You'd always put the call out for people, and I kind of thought, I don't know if I could do it. And then eventually I thought, right, enough is enough. I've got to do something here. You did a pun test competition on Facebook, right?
Which is a pun contest for those that are uninformed, a pun contest on Facebook. And the idea is if you won the pun contest, then you earn a spot in the virtual Punderdome. Fair?
Yeah, but as you'll appreciate, Fred, there's a world of difference between jokes that you can work carefully on and the ones that you have to come up with on the spot in the contest.
Duly noted, sir. Big disconnect there. So anyway, so you decided to throw your hat into the ring, so to speak, with the pun contest. And when was that? Ballpark? What month?
I think that was around about October time.
Okay, all right.
And I threw a few hats in the ring because I wasn't convinced that some of the hats would, I just wanted to see what would land, basically.
I got it.
And you have to win the vote, don't you, from the people.
So you submitted 3 times, and the idea is you can submit up to 5. You had 3 submittals. Now, did you win that first time that you did?
Yeah. One of them caught fire or got a few likes, bit of support, and I was away. And then I thought, oh, what's my prize? And my prize was to enter into a fight to the death in the Battle Royale.
So you won a spot in the Pun Battle Royale, all right? That's where we have 6 punters enter, 1 remain, throw up a topic, and 2 minutes, people pun up as best they can, and the audience then votes who goes on to the next round. And now, did you win that first opportunity?
First time was an absolute disaster because I'll be honest with you, I misunderstood the concept. I thought that you get 2 minutes within which to write your jokes.
I see. Okay.
So I started to turn down the sound, thinking that your
oh gosh,
parodist was going to come on, and then people were already getting in there with their breakfast puns, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, it started!" So then I had to add something to the mix, and yeah, I mean that every different part of Punderdome requires a different skill set, I would say.
Well stated, very good. We'll drill down on that later, sir. But so. Did you? I'm inferring that you did not win that initial involvement in the Pun Battle Royale.
I did not. I didn't get enough jabs in there if it was a boxing match.
I see. And so what happened then? Did you do that again, or how did you happen to again connect us the dots on how you're here today?
It's fine. So glutton for punishment. I thought, well, didn't get through that time. I've got a point to prove. And I think you asked me back. Actually, that was the nicest thing. And I'm not one to refuse an invitation. And I did quite enjoy it.
All right.
So I came back
the following
following month, I think it was.
Yes.
And I broke out of the prison. There is this sort of purgatory, pun purgatory.
I see. Yeah. So when you broke out of pun purgatory, I'm inferring that you won the pun battle royale. Are we connecting there, brother? We're on the same page?
Yeah. Sorry,
right, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then
I know know, they don't know. Yeah.
Right. And then what happened then? Then you went on to what happened next?
Well, then I got to take on a dome champ of my choosing, which was a risky strategy, I thought, but I did it. And I came up with the jokes. I think I had about half an hour to write some jokes about fruit.
Right.
And what was really encouraging was like actual laughs from the other punners, which, was a huge boost. And it made me think, this is something.
It's got to be very encouraging when you watch other punters that are in the know, have a considered opinion, laughing at what you're doing. I mean, that encourages you and enhances your perceived value. Wonderful. It does.
And it's a very warm crowd, I have to say.
Great. So then you went on to you beat the Dome champ. So the next time you actually were in the All-Star Pun Tournament, were you not?
Yeah, I felt like an absolute fraud.
And how did you do on that first initial involvement in the All-Star Pun Tournament?
Well, I got through the first round and then I sort of bottled it on the second round and I couldn't maintain the momentum. So I didn't make it past the semi-final.
And then your second entree was the February 4th, and that's where you were in the winner's circle.
I went all the way. It's unbelievable. Right. Such strong competition. You've got Lexi Khan, you've got the Pink Panther. They're all there. These are heavyweights, giants of Punderdome. Yes. And little old me.
I would add a name to the names the Lexi Khan and the Pink Panther. I would add the pun-loving criminal to that list as well.
Well, you can add it. I
did. Really noted, sir. All right. So before we go, I want to talk about your pun methods and what you do in this 2 minutes prep. But before we do that, what obviously you were a punter before Punderdome. Some early memories. What inspired you? What was your training ground for being such an effective punter?
So I was thinking about this earlier, Fred, and growing up throughout my childhood, I used to love jokes. Like I'd remember jokes, I'd tell jokes. I remember around the Christmas dinner table with my family and me just once saying, a man walks into a shop and asks for a pack of helicopter crisps. And the guy behind the counter says, sorry, sir, we've only got plain ones. And the response that I got for that, I mean, people were talking about it for years to come. Like they were still referencing back. Do you remember when? And I felt like, I never thought I'd be writing my own jokes. I used to just tell jokes. I'd do sponsored joke tellings and things like that, and then they stay with you throughout your life. Because, I think there's a lot of value in a simple pun.
So did that encourage you to pursue? You're a comedian now?
Yeah. I mean, I do comedic performances.
Okay.
And then I followed the greats like Jimmy Carr, although he's a lot darker than I would ever be. Tim Vine with his silliness. Milton Jones with his deadpan bewilderment. Okay. Stuart Francis.
Okay. All right.
And also Gary Delaney.
Okay.
And then I'm kind of like just sort of trying to add to the pantheon of punnery.
Well, consider it added to. All right. Anything in your childhood? Anything with your family growing up? Were they punters?
Not really. But it's funny you should mention that because my uncle, he used to tell these shaggy dog stories that would go on for weeks and weeks and weeks. Yeah. And then at the end, there'd just be some weak wordplay. And one thing that taught me was that the longer the build up, the better the payoff has to be.
Interesting.
So I try and do an economy of words and just get there as fast as possible.
Get to the build up, and then get to the
punch.
Interesting. Okay. That brings me to an interesting point now. So I'd like to look at your strategy. We have 2 minutes in the tournament to prep, and then people then deliver their pun monologue for 90 seconds. And, I was thinking, how do I get what's in the pun-loving criminal's mind? How do we as the observer or the viewer really understand what your process is? I thought that's going to be difficult at best. So I thought I'd start with the visual aids, the visual movie, if you will. So let's do this. Let's go back in time. Okay, we're going to go back in time to, all right, let's do this here. Hold on a second, please.
I haven't seen this,
right,
so this is really.
We're going to go back in time. This is February 4th.
Oh my
This
goodness,
is the
who's that guy?
first round, and the topic is weather. And I want you to look at your performance, and I want you also to observe the reaction of the other punters in the round. And then we're going to drill down. You're going to tell me what goes into your 2 minutes in terms of preparing for this, and what's your pun process all about. All right? All right,
here we go.
Let's see what we got.
Let's do this.
Your next contestant is the pun-loving criminal.
Okay. Well, I have to admit, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be honest with you, when Fred announced this topic, I was wondering whether I could rise to the challenge, but hopefully I will. I'm hoping to be your little ray of punshine, punny side up. I looked outside earlier and there were all these white balls falling from the sky. I thought, all hail the weather. I've actually recently started a stage show musical. It's not Rent, it's called Rain, but there are more actors than there are parts. It's completely overcast. Now, I made a cake earlier, but I left it out in the acid rain, so now it's lemon drizzle. And I left my bread out in the rain as well, and it's now pitter-patter bread. I don't know if any of you have had elocution lessons like me, but the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain, which is why, ladies and gentlemen, we're taking off for the next 2 hours. Send in the clouds. What else have we got? Oh, yeah, so all this white stuff. I'm a confirmed bachelor, so there's more chance of that settling. But all the businesses have stopped as a result of this white frozen stuff. There's snow business, like snow business, like snow business, I snow. And let me just finish on this, if I may. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. And that's the weather for cats.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, indeed. Well, that was
okay. Wow. All right. Well, that speaks for itself. But let's we're gonna drill down this a little bit. So you get the topic, all right, and the topic is whether. You've got 2 minutes. Now, again, did you have any idea what the topic was going to be? Any idea at all?
Absolutely none whatsoever, and that's the whole problem.
That's the whole opportunity, sir. We couch it in different terms. All right, so I gave you the topic, I had no idea. So what goes through your mind? What do you do? What does the 2 minute prep look like for the pun-loving criminal?
Okay, well, there's a heck of a lot of panic and pressure to come up with things. Someone once suggested that I just thrive in highly pressurized situations, where you've just got no time and you have to come up with something.
So
and one of the most difficult...
Yeah, keep going. How did you, I'm so curious on this.
So one of the most difficult things, sorry to interrupt, one of the most difficult things is just thinking of words. So you say weather, but it's not like, oh, how many spins can we get on the word weather? You have to then break it down into its component parts. Okay. So I'm thinking, well, what weather is there? And then I'm like, there's snow, there's hail, and there's wind, and and then it's like trying to come up with jokes related to that. And then you have to put them into sentences. And it's so difficult. And the 2 minutes is just, it's nigh on impossible. And then I have to find, if I come up with anything in between that and my actual performance, if you can call it that, I try and write with my mind and put marks on the paper that I can't actually physically scribe. So, there's an element of that.
So what does your paper look like? When I called on you, all right, pun-loving criminal, what is your paper you're looking at? What does it have on it? Does it have
So my method has always been stimulus and response.
Okay.
So I hear a word or I see a word and I think, what does that sound like? What else can I do to adjust the letters in that word, like the first letter or towards the end of the letter, just to make it into a different word? That's what I'm doing all the time.
Got it.
And often these aren't fully constructed sentences, and that's one of the biggest challenges I think with Punderdome, that you have to make it into like a stand-up set, like, hey everybody, earlier today I did this and I've just got words. So it's like, okay, how do I make that into context?
So you take these words that are maybe where the topic is weather, and you say, oh, what are the components of that category? And you put those things down, and then you look for ways to take those things that you have written down. How can you pun up on those items, correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much the case, yeah.
But then what I hear you saying, that's very different. Then you prepared, but the delivery is another thing entirely. I mean, you're not just saying, here are my puns, evaluate them. What you do in the 90-second delivery in large part influences how people perceive you. And I've heard comments about that, but about you, very positive comments. So let's talk about that. So you've got these puns on paper and you've got your 90 seconds. So, I mean, what do you do from there? How do you then, what made you sing? I mean, what gave you that energy? I mean, so many things that were part of you saw the responses of the other punters. I mean, they were elated. They were so excited. So tell us about how do you go from writing the puns down that you've done for 2 minutes and then somehow coming up with a vehicle by which it delivers to the crowd in your 90-second stand-up?
I mean, a good magician never reveals his secrets, but honestly, I don't have a method as such. I'm acutely aware as an audience member that hearing pun after pun after pun can get very boring very quickly. It can get, the novelty can be lost. Yeah. So you have to mix it up. You have to break it up somehow and shake it up. And I've done a lot of musical parodies in the past. So I kind of think, hey, I can make that one into a song, or that one I can do a voice on it, or, watching it back, there's a kind of there's a delivery there. Like there's a way of making fairly weak jokes funny, possibly. I don't know. Or you build in a gesture or act something out, or so I try and make it different things. I try and make it more than just a list of words.
Very interesting. So well said. Yeah, what you're saying, ultimately the deliverable is your ability to come up with some solid puns, but the method by which you engage the audience in large part influences the receptivity of what you're about. I mean, people have told me that. They said they loved the English guy, had so much energy and loved the puns, and he owned it, and he brought light to the pun world. So I don't know, I've heard some wonderful things about your delivery, and it's anyway, that was the first round. You won that, of course, and then you went on to, or were a winner in that round, went on to the semifinals and then the finals. So tell me about your thoughts about Punderdome going forward. You excited about it? You feel like this is a vessel for you to strut your stuff, and thoughts?
Well, I'd just like to say, I mean, you won't hear this very often, but thank you, coronavirus, for making all this possible. Because if it wasn't for the pandemic, I don't think you would have gone online, and I never would have had the opportunity to engage with the contest and compete with people. No, well,
yes, the answer is yes, that's true. Okay, keep going. I didn't know whether that was a question.
Yeah, and I wonder if it'll ever return to the stage. I mean, I imagine it will before too long. And I probably couldn't justify the flights out there and the accommodation and everything.
Well, let me just say, we'll see, right? I always, just a note here, that we were New York's Comedy Pun Show, and now we're New York's Paren and the Globes, and I don't see moving back on that. So I think we're going to continue our game, and we'll see where it goes. So, well,
there's nothing like this on the internet, Fred, believe it or not. I mean, I'm sure you already know that. But, there are pun contests, but people have had a lot more time to prepare their jokes. Yeah. And I think they're judged accordingly. And one thing I've learned from performing is that people will give you a lot more credit for something you've just thought up on the spot, like an ad lib or an afterthought, than anything you've spent hours writing.
Yeah.
And if they can tell it's written, I've always had a problem with sounding natural and spontaneous. Yeah. I got a script in my head. So I think script, go, and then just what can we come up with now? And then I don't even know the order, the sequence a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I've learned what you said, if you go out on a high, don't you? You try and put your last joke at the end and your best one, and then you start strong or whatever. And So that's what happens in the middle is less relevant.
Yeah, I think your observation is so on point, and that is the feedback we get is that it's one thing to get a week to work on what your pun riff is, so to speak, and people admire that. But when it's on steroids, when you're given a limited amount of time to, one, populate the category with words that are pun worthy, develop the puns, and come up with a way to deliver a standard routine and deliver it in 45 seconds. I'm sorry, 90 seconds. So anyway.
And I'd also say that sometimes you get lucky with the topics. Like I think the other week, the topic gods were smiling down on me. But other times, not so much. I mean, what's really weird is that the battle royale that I broke out of was on the Wizard of Oz. Now, you might say, well, that's unbelievably restrictive, but sometimes that narrow focus is what you need to come up with the goods. Whereas if you've got an overall thing like banking, I think came up the other day, and it's like, well, there's so many different aspects. You know, you've got names of banks, you've got types of currency, and it's possibility paralysis. And you get brain freeze. Interesting.
Well, so well stated. And thanks for getting up close and personal with us. It's very interesting, and so happy for your success. And you persevered and succeeded. And you're going to be punning it up again in the next Dome, which is April 7th, correct?
That's right. Thank you for asking me back.
Well, we look forward
I haven't had enough.
Look forward to seeing you then. But thanks you're speaking to us from UK, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Good.
We're mid-afternoon over here.
Good deal, man. Stay well and safe, and look forward to seeing you on April 7th.
Okay, fantastic. Can't wait. Thanks so much, Fred.
Take care, buddy.